Mentoring with Geraldine is a bite-sized practitioner podcast for naturopaths, nutritionists, herbalists, coaches, and practitioners. This podcast responds directly to the needs of you, the practicing natural therapist. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Mentoring with Geraldine and the bite-sized podcast. How the devil are you? So August is a really cool month. And when I say cool, I mean it's the ski season in a lot of the Southern Hemisphere. So it's very cool indeed. It's also quite wet here in Adelaide, not the nicest place to be. I'm envying everyone who's made it north this winter. So in the Confident Practitioner community over on Facebook, we're going to have another session next week where we have our amazing speakers in to talk this time about business. Last time we talked clinically, last time we talked about the programs that we could be implementing, but this time we're going to talk about business. So August in the podcast is all about thinking outside the square. It's all about our business and what we can do. We're going to be talking in there about in the community, and that they will become podcasts as well over Christmas, because I know many of you can't make it there. And also it's something you don't go back to once you've been in the lives, isn't it? So they're going to help you and remind you over the summer months when they're repeated. But we're going to be looking at Facebook advertising, SEO advertising. We're going to be looking at marketing in our business. We're going to be looking at using systems in our business, and particularly what system contains it all. Okay. And we're going to be looking at running programs and running things in our business. Today, I wanted to start off by talking to you about systems, just straight systems. Because if we haven't got those systems in everything we do, then how are we going to do anything, right? So I've talked to you about being in clinic with your clients, right? We're about to talk more about that in September. But I talk a lot about time, about how you use your time, how you spend your time in business constructively within the consult. So today I want to talk about systems outside of consult that help us streamline. Now, where are you storing your notes? Does where you store your notes also allow you to email your client base? Where you store your notes, does it allow you to keep a program in it? Where you store your notes, is it secure? Is there a link within that for you to be able to use Zoom? And yeah, whatever system you have to pay for Zoom or an equivalent. All they're allowing companies to do is connect their product through them. Okay. They're not going to let it happen for free. You've got to pay the company, you've got to pay the Zoom company, or whichever, there's other ones out there as well, but you'll need to pay them to use their service. Does the system that you have mean that you only need one system? Or does the system you currently have, not have any emailing capacity? So you must use a separate email server to be able to email people. Now, within what I do on Podia, where all my courses are stored at geraldineheadley.com, there is an email system within it, but it's not very pretty, right? I like pretty. I really like pretty. And so if I'm talking about a course, then people get an email from that system because it's an ugly, boring email, got to admit. And it's like most systems, right? They're ugly, boring. I personally use Flowdesk to send out my weekly email. Sometimes I'll send more than one because of what's going on or what I want to tell you, or I'm excited to email you. And they come from Flowdesk. And the reason for that is simply because Flowdesk is pretty. And I can't do things that aren't, that are spontaneous and happy. I'm sending you an email because I want to tell you about something. I can only do that if the server is pretty. Okay. There has to be a visual there for me. So with the Podia ones, they're for people who've purchased. I'll be sending out an email saying, hey, there's an upcoming meeting or whatever. And that comes from that one because they look boring and it's a boring system and it's just an email system. And I need that motivation of pretty that Flowdesk gives me for me to go, oh yeah, I'll send an email. I'm happy to do that, rather than, oh, I've got to send an email, haven't I? Which is what many of the systems do to me. So when we think about our systems, what's holding you back? Is it like me that you really think it's so ugly in there? I used ActiveCampaign for a long time and I never sent, I struggled massively to send emails. I wouldn't send emails simply because I had to go into the system and it was just so boring. It was almost like a snooze fest. I would go in and just want to go to sleep as soon as I looked at it. And it was techie and it was boring and I didn't want to do it. And all of the systems are like that. So I'm not having a go ActiveCampaign at all. Loads of people love it. It's one of the most popular systems. It's expensive, fine. It really does the job. It's great. It's got all of the everything you need. It's got all the bells and whistles. But it bored me, right? So this is my own personal complaint. Nobody else's, obviously, because it's so popular. But do you know yourself about things that are holding you back? Are you looking at your capacity to email and going, well, I'm not emailing because what is the because? What is the reason that you're not emailing? Is it like me and that it feels like a thankless task because people don't reply a lot of the time, even though I'm asking for a reply. People don't email me. I send out an email blast and they may or may not read it. I can see who reads it because that comes up. You can see if they've clicked on the links. You can do all of the things. But for me to actually go and do it, for me to sit down and write it, I need to be motivated. Now, I'm motivated to send the email because I've had a good idea. But what was limiting me and stopping me was my good idea never went onto paper because I simply had to go and use a system I thought was ugly. Right? So when we're doing anything, when we have systems or we want to implement systems, we have to know what holds us back. We have to know what our limiting factors are. And saying I'm not tech savvy is no excuse. That's a nothing, right? I wasn't tech savvy until I started doing all the stuff. And where I don't want to do something, it's generally because it's boring, not because I can't do it or I think it's boring. There's millions of people who don't. I don't want to play with the background of my WordPress website. I couldn't think of anything worse than sitting around in the back of my WordPress website. I've been there. I've done that. I created a website back in the day when we were all creating our own websites and they were so ugly. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. It bores me. It's not something I want to do. It's not somewhere I want to spend my time and effort. But I have Jose who does that. He's amazing at it. And that's why with my 90-day program, I turned around and said, hey, I've got these system people who will do the stuff that I can't stand. And I'm happy to share them. I'm happy to create, get the content together with you. And then Jose can do it because I ain't doing it, right? When we think about our systems, we have to think of the whole process and we have to think of what's stopping us in our tracks. For me, it was the lack of beauty on all of the mailing systems. I shouldn't probably single out one. I can send you the link to my Flowdesk if you want, and you can join up and give me a little affiliate payment. Don't mind if you do. But it might not be the one you want. You might not care about whether it's pretty or not for you to be able to go in there because you might be totally cool with sitting down and sending an email. You might be totally cool with blogging. See, I'm not good at blogging either because that involves sitting down in front of a blank piece of paper. Whereas sitting down in front of a screen, talking to you guys, knowing I'm connecting, knowing that you're listening to me in your ears is like the best thing because that's me talking. So the blog comes after the podcast in my case, okay? The blog is later. The blog isn't the first thing that happens. The vlog happens and then the blog because that's who I am. And I know that's who I am. I know that's where my best work happens in the motivating, the cheering people on, the shouting, the yelling, the clanging the maracas. That's where I do my best work. My brain works in that way that it's visual, it's bright, it's starry. I can't sleep at night because my brain is still chattering, right? Now, we all have to think, what is holding me back in my systems because of me, right? Me. What is my stop? Yeah. How am I getting in my own way in this system and trying to make this system work? In what way am I stopping myself moving forward? Is it I don't even know what systems I need? That can be a thing too. Is there no flow? We have to look at it from our client's perspective. What is their flow into our business? And that's where you need someone like me to go, well, you've got the worst website in the world, or this is a really pretty website. It's really pretty, but it doesn't say anything. It's just got pictures of magnolias on it or something. All right. We have to have someone else who's not invested sometimes look at it, who's not invested emotionally. Obviously, if you've paid me to help you, I'm invested, but I'm invested emotionally, like our partner or our parent or a child. They're not necessarily the best person because they want the best for you. They're not necessarily being honest in a way that's going to help us. It might put our back up or something instead. When we look at our systems, what system do you have? Do you have an all-in-one system, but does it flow for you? Do you have a system that has some of the things, but not all of the things? So you've got to go and get a separate booking system, or, what is the other thing? I use a separate booking system simply because when I started out online, there wasn't anything. So I had to have a separate booking system. I had to have a separate place to hold my notes. I had to have all of these separate things. But now a lot of the time you don't. You can save money by having just one system. Or if within that system something's not as brilliant, like Pody is okay. It's like, it's all right as far as emails go, but I'm not impressed. It's not ringing my bells and tooting my horn. So I'm not using it. I'm using a different system. All right. And so we have to think, which way is this going to work? What system am I going to use? And systems can't be everything to everyone. I should say that as well. Some things you're going to think, this is brilliant. I love this part of this system that holds all my notes, perhaps. This bit's brilliant, but this bit isn't so good. So I'll use something else while they upgrade and get that bit better. Okay, that's totally cool. But we have to have a system check. We have to see, how much am I paying out to all of these different systems when I could perhaps have one or maybe two systems that does everything I need. It carries all my clients' notes. It has a way to connect with them. It's got somewhere to store maybe a program or something in it. We need to make sure that system flows. If you want some help with flow, then contact me. Obviously, I will help you with that. That is part of what I do, because I want to make sure that your clients can easily book in with you. And to check your systems as well, you need to borrow somebody else's or go to the library and use one of their computers, because a library at the computer doesn't know it's you. So it doesn't automatically give you the best look and everything. It will send you in and you'll go, oh, that's not responsive. Oh, that doesn't work. Oh, that looks terrible. Oh, sometimes, what is it? There's something I do and I put the ampersand. So the and, the squiggle for and is called an ampersand. And I'll put the ampersand in, or is it put a smiley face and it turns into an ampersand. There's something that I've done online and I'm like, what? And it doesn't show up like that on my computer. It showed up like that on a friend. She was like, what is this? And it's because your computer, it's telling you what you want to see, just like your family is sometimes. So sometimes we have to make the effort to go out and use a different computer to find out where we really are on Google. Because when you Google yourself, you're on the page one. You're number one on page one. But if you go to a random computer somewhere else, it doesn't know what you're looking for and might turn out that you're on page 2 billion. And you're not connected at all with your Google Map and things like that. And that is actually going to help you in your systems check when you look at your systems, if you go somewhere else to check and have a look. So systems this week, I want you to go and check your systems, because next week on Confident Practitioner Community, we do have, every morning, we're going to have a discussion with somebody else about something business focused. And I want you this month to really get into those business ideas of the extra stuff you can do, of where you can find things, of how you can create without reinventing the wheel. That makes sense? August, exciting. An exciting month in the Confident Practitioner Community and right here on the podcast, as we hopefully do a little bit of mind expanding to get you thinking about where you could be and what you could be doing if your systems were in place, if your marketing was in place, how you'd run a program, what it would be like, and how you can get that up and running in your business so that you're on the way to success. So August, here on the podcast and in the Confident Practitioner community. I look forward to catching up with you and seeing you. If you've got questions, make sure that you send me an email or get in contact, because I would love to connect with you. So let's catch up soon. See ya.